會議可以開始。
We can start our meeting now.
今日係我哋交通。
This is a special meeting of the Transport Panel, which is on public transport or public bus service. Our meeting will last from 9:30 to 12:15, and if need be, we can extend our meeting.
我哋今日呢就總共有46位團隊。
There are 46 individuals or groups attending our meeting. Their name lists or their name list is on the annex, and there are also some who will not attend, though they have given their submissions. I asked the administration to introduce the paper, and then I asked individuals and groups to give their views. And then I asked the administration to reply on a preliminary basis, and then members are allowed to ask questions. And they may put questions to the officials and also to the groups and individuals attending the meeting. May I now invite the officials and also the deputations into the chamber. Mr. Wong, is it the point of order, or you want to sign up in the queue? Thank you. All right. We have Mr. Yao Xingmu, Under Secretary for Transport and Housing, Mr. Andy Chan, Deputy Secretary, Ms. Kerry Chang, PAS. Ms. Marcella Lee, Assistant Commissioner for Transport, Ms. Rachel Kwan, Principal Transport Officer. 5 officials. May I welcome the deputations, including the individuals and groups attending today's meeting. Please be reminded that when you attend the meeting in this chamber, also or when you are in the public gallery listening to the deliberations, please refer to the security instructions given to you either in your letter or table in front of you. And if you want a copy also, you may get a copy from our security guards. You may put on your earphones if you want to listen into the interpretation. Channel 1 is Cantonese, Channel 2 is English, Channel 3 is Putonghua. I'd like to remind those who are going to give views, your views are not protected by the Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. So do your written submissions. Please be brief and precise when you speak, and speak no more than 3 minutes so that more time can be left for further discussion. When the buzzer is sounded, you will have to stop. If you have not provided us with any written submissions, you may do so after the meeting. I will ask the government officials to give us a brief introduction, and then I'll invite the individuals and groups to give their views. And after the groups and individuals have given their views, then I ask the administration to reply, and then depending on time available, maybe you'll be given 5 minutes to respond. I refer to officials, and then open the floor to members for questions and answers. Depending on the progress of the meeting, let's start. The Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the Transport Panel for inviting us to attend today's public hearing to listen to the views of the trade and also members public on the PTSS, in particular the role of and position of public buses. On the 25th of November last year, we've already briefed the Council on the PTSS. To put it simply, the PTSS will review public transport service other than the heavy rail, and it will also look into the concerns of the public transport sector to enhance their complementarity. We want to maintain plurality in service and safety and healthy growth of the trade. As for public transport service, the review on role and positioning of the public buses will include reviewing its role and position, said the Speaker, and also introducing the possibility of real-time bus information service. And the role and positioning review cover different means of public transport and touch on different matters of public concern and touch upon different types of public transport and the livelihood of many people. It has wide repercussions. The Transport Bureau has to create an AO staff grade C, a supernumerary post to coordinate and supervise the revision. And as for the creation of this post, we'll discuss it with the ESC. The Transport Division is already having a very heavy workload. If the proposal is not endorsed, we do not have additional manpower and resources to conduct this review. I therefore would like to take this opportunity to urge members to support us with regard to the creation of this post so that we can start the review. And if the position is established and funding is provided, then we will commission a consultant to assist us. We know that this Council and members of the public concerned about public transport services. There are many issues in public transport services. Now we need to set priorities and focus attention and resources on major issues that are concerns of the trade, and we should not we should not deal with issues which have already been dealt with under our existing policies. The views collected in the public hearings and also the views given by the consultants will be taken into account. If there are issues which are outside the scope, we will also consider ways to follow them up on by other means. All right, let's start. The first speaker. Sorry, speaker is not coming through. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the policy is railway transport is a backbone and bus is supporting service. I find it problematic. During peak hours, look at Kowloon Tong, Mong Kok, Admiralty. The platforms are full and you have to wait for several trains. The railway system is not able to take all passengers. Buses can provide point-to-point service. The government should not put railway first because both are important. Areas not covered by railway network are not supplied with adequate bus service. I live in Samcheng. There are 2 bus routes and 2 GMB routes, but no railway. Yet, on the other hand, areas covered by railway network are also served with many bus routes. Are they complementing each other or competing with each other? The government has to spell it to find it out and clarify this. The speed of buses are getting slower and slower because there are too many vehicles on the road. Buses should be given priority, like overseas countries. For example, mandatory giving way bus lanes, peak hours, restriction zones. This will enhance the effectiveness of the public bus transport system. Reorganization bus route is necessary. There are too many routes, which are long and tortuous and duplicated. Rationalization will help to improve service. Then the Transport Department reorganized the bus routes. The Transport Department did not look into people's demands. People are not happy. Passengers will have to change many times, and passengers will have to wait much longer. The situation is even worse than the situation before rationalization. People's opinions should be a primary concern. The government should also learn examples from Seoul and Singapore. They have public transit, the public transport interchange. They encourage people to make use of public transport interchanges to avoid long and tortuous routes and duplication of routes. And fees should be charged according to distance. This will attract people to make use of the public transport interchanges. There will be more incentives given to make use or to do route changing in order to solve problems that cannot be solved by rationalization. Next, the DAB, Mr. Yang Hon-ning. Madam Chairman, the DAB is the view that franchise buses should discharge a social responsibility to provide quality and reasonable service. The government should improve the existing public transport policy to keep pace with development of society. The government can assist the development of franchise bus business. The railway as backbone is the overriding principle, and then franchise buses should be helped for long-term development, enhance its role as a supporting role. The government should support reorganization of routes in the 18 districts, reconsider the alignment, allowing some bus routes to run parallel with the railway system so as to divert passengers from the rail system to the bus, enhance bus speed, and then enhance prosecution of parking at bus stops. The government should step up supervision of the operation of franchise bus companies. There are missing trips and delays, and that is very often. The Transport Department should step up its supervision.
監控巴士班次嘅措施，並就其定義同埋懲罰機制進行檢討，致力協助同埋監督專營巴士公司改善服務。第三就係推動更低排放環保嘅巴士發展，敦促專營巴士營辦商盡快更換更環保嘅巴士。第四就係檢討同埋修改現行巴士。
Fourth, we should adjust the fare mechanism. We should review the public bus service ordinance and review the fare schedule and eliminate unreasonable fare structure. For example, routes operating via the race course should be reviewed, and then for bus routes with taking passengers to Southern District, they are charged a higher price than those of other districts. So there should be a distance-based fare structure. Fifth, we should reduce the fees. Monthly passes should be issued, and also review on cross-harbor tunnel bus fares. And also, we should also provide real-time bus service information. There should be major interchange stops, and we should promote bus-friendly policies. Next one. Liberal Party, Mr. Mark Fu. Thank you, Chairman. The Liberal Party believes that there is room for improvement in our bus services. For example, we should enhance bus routes, increase frequencies, promote bus route rationalization, cut down emission, and also improve on the interchange arrangements. Today, I would like to focus on bus route rationalization. This is a most pressing issue, and it will bring the greatest benefits if implemented successfully. Bus route rationalization can help bus companies make better use of its resources and cut down on operation costs, and also cut down on pressure to increase fares. And this will also help improve roadside air quality. For the bus route rationalization proposals, we're seeing the government is focusing on how to increase the frequency of certain bus routes and reduce. But I think more arrangements can be made together with the PLB. Now, for example, some bus routes are enjoying low patronage, so those bus routes or journeys can be handed over for PLB to operate, and the government should take on a coordinating role in asking PLB operators to serve routes the patronage of which is too low for the bus companies. So the passengers can be served, and also bus resources can be utilized more efficiently by doing that. Also, residents are very concerned about bus routes, so we hope that the bus companies and the government can do more consultation, listen to more views, and we should also publicize the advantages of bus route rationalization. I used to live in Chang Kwan O, and I now live in Tai Kwok Chau, and I've experienced bus route rationalization in these two districts, and I've seen many advantages. From Chang Kwan O to Sharton, it takes less than half an hour, where in the past it used to take more than 1 hour. So these are all the advantages and benefits brought about by bus route rationalization. So such messages should be clearly conveyed to the public. Lastly, about lost trips of buses. Lost trips is something that the bus companies don't want to see either. But then the road congestion problem is getting serious in Hong Kong. Why? In the past 5 years, the government has been doing nothing in building roads in Hong Kong. So we have to have regard to the road situation and the number of vehicles in Hong Kong. Is it because there are too many vehicles on roads? So I hope that the government can undertake the fourth comprehensive transport study as soon as possible. So in addition to public transport service, they should also look at road infrastructure facilities. Next one is North Kwai Chung Transport Concern Group, Mr. Kao Tau Lau. North Kwai Chung is far away from railway stations, and residents rely on BLBs and buses. So we do have a lot of experience in using buses, so we want to share experience with you. There are now 6 scale of fares. So the same journey may take different fares depending on which bus company is providing the bus service. Generally, KMB is providing, charging higher fares, and residents think that this is not reasonable. But we don't have any other transport modes, so we are forced to take KMB, and they are unhappy with the KMB services. So we hope that the administration can standardize the fares among different bus companies and try to standardize the fare scale of fares, so to prevent having different fares for the same journey or same distance. This photo was taken last Friday. The buses were packed with people on the lower floor, and actually, under the Transport Department's calculation, even if a bus is packed like that, is only considered 80% full, because under the present CAP 374A 7041, and they are calculating the capacity based on 6 persons standing on 1 square meters, but that is not realistic. Even if people are packed on the lower floor, their occupancy rate is only considered as at 80 to 90%, so that's not good. The THB last year said that for railway, every square meter there should be only 4 people standing. But then the THB is having the bus is having 1 square meters accommodating 6 standing persons. So how come there is this discrepancy? Last year, the government has cancelled 32B without consultation for KMB. And a lot of people are inconvenienced by that. This is a very outrageous example of bus rearrangement services. and people are made to wait much longer to wait for buses, and we are wasting a lot of resources every year. I hope that the Transport Department can do a better gatekeeping role in monitoring bus services. Next one, Mr. Michael Yong from the Shelton District Council. I would like to share a story with you. The character of this story is Mr. Yao Xingmo himself. On the 5th of September 2013, at the Shelton District Council, it was passed that a new HOS be built and a Yan-on court will be built. And Mr. Yao asked us whether we should support building this PRH and HOS. And our residents' view was that the proper transport arrangements be put in place before building construction work can go ahead. I don't know how Mr. Yao takes our views, but then in last year's bus route rationalization program presented to us, the Transport Department made 3 proposals for 3 routes, 40X, 87D, and 89D. The Assistant Commissioner at that time was Ms. Lee Shui-Chan. I don't get her proposal. I don't see how they can allow reduction of bus services where residential building developments are going to be planned. Well, as someone said, that even if a bus is packed, it's considered that it's only 85% full. Now, in the last District Council meeting, we mentioned about 89C, 40X, and so on. And the occupancy rate for those routes is from 80% upwards. Now, after the restructuring, I have to get interchange. And I couldn't get on 89D and also 87D. I don't get it. If bus companies are keen to rearrange their bus routes, I give you my idea. Well, just hand over your services to the City Bus and New World First Bus. I have made calculation. You can save up on 58 buses. Now, you are, under your plan, 20 buses only can be saved. And you are complaining all the time, KMB, you are saying that, complaining that you are losing money. Why don't you hand over your service for operation by City Bus and New World First Bus? Ms. Lee, you've been in this post. 40X operates via Shelton Hospital, and it needs to take the disadvantaged and the disabled. Please review that. Next one, Mr. Jackie Lim, commenter. Thank you, Chairman. Well, please look in detail my 14-page submission. And let me remind you that you should read it in detail and carefully. The government has been saying that the railway has been the backbone of our public transport service, and it seems that they are totally disregarding the other public transport modes. I won't repeat what others have said on this point. Mr. Yao Xingmo, I want to tell you, if the THB and the Transport Department insist on putting railway first, please help realize this dream of ours, that railway should cover every part of Hong Kong. I will give you this map after the meeting. One of the problems with franchised bus companies, they are finding it more difficult to operate. In my submission, I have made a comparison between Hong Kong and Singapore and London. Hong Kong is falling short of the number of buses compared to these 2 other places. But how much is the shortfall? I think it's a matter for the administration to deal with. Well, don't try to cut services in the name of bus route rationalization. Try to think hard on how to make better use of resources, give enough room for the bus companies to survive, and give more choices for Hong Kong people. The bus companies have its own problems, and the administration has its own problems too. The community has been accusing the bus companies of raising fares year after year, but then cutting service year after year. Now, it's like the situation when we have the China Motor Bus back in the 1980s. If the KMB is not keen on operating a service, why don't you hand back your franchise? And Mr. Yao, when you attend the EXCO meeting, ask Mrs. Fanny Law how she dealt with the China Motor Bus in the 80s and tried to get rid of it because they are not keen on operating the bus. And also PLB has its own role, and they should not be disregarded in total. Lastly, the sector has been complaining that they are short-handed, and I would like to urge the administration not to think about importing labor at all. For Singapore, SMRT exercise, is leading to disaster, and don't think about importing labor for the sector. Next one, Mr. Ngan Man Yu Kao, Kwun Tong District Councillor. Thank you, Chairman. The government tries to come up with a different positioning of the public transport. I think it came too late, this kind of study. The aim was to ease the congestion on road surface. This aim we all support, but what we are against is the bus companies' operations and the tactics they use, and the transport department is lacking comprehensive planning. The bus companies are proposing truncating certain routes, and people are asked to interchange, but then the fare is not being decreased, and the government, the residents are not giving any benefits, are not gaining any benefits. The bus companies should be giving back to members of the public the costs that they are able to cut. And also, the Transport Department should work together with bus companies on bus route rationalization.
Several speakers have said that the routes cancelled are said to have low utilization rate, but they are really needed. Why can't you ask a GMB route to replace it? Now, the bus company may think passengers are not enough, but the GMB company may find that there are a lot of passengers. There should be active planning. The Transport Department should be responsible for coordination, review the needs of the district, say in Kowloon East. And in the foreseeable future, there will be more new housing estates. The provision of service is lagging far behind. 5 years ago, on the hill slopes of Kowloon Bay, there will be 3 housing estates, and there will be 50,000 people living there. But there is only a single bus route linking with Kwun Tong. The arrangement is not what people want. The Transport Department should make good use of different types of public transport, the buses, the MTR, the GMBs, the non-franchise buses should be arranged to coordinate and complement each other. The Transport Department should play the role of the coordinator. I hope that in the reorganization of bus routes in Kowloon, lessons can be learned and reorganize the bus routes in the interest of the people. The reorganization is not just the problem of the bus company, is about division of labor among various means of transport. Next speaker, Mr. Lung Chi Wai, Clear Air Network. Thank you, Chairman. The topic is PTSS. Our network is of the view that when discussing bus network, we should look at a broader perspective. That's about the continuation of franchises. The franchises will expire in 2016 and 17 in respect of the GMB and City, KMB and City Bus. They put emphasis on efficiency, but have ignored emission standards. Emission standards should be a term that has to be included in the franchise conditions. Now, there is a low emission zone arrangement and also bus replacement program. It is mentioned in the policy address. In fact, there was a pilot scheme starting from 2011. The pilot has been in place for 4 to 5 years. Maybe around September last year, with regard to the 3 bus companies and 5,000 odd buses in the fleet, only 30% or 1,705 buses comply with the low emission zone requirement, which is 4 or above. If you follow the Clean Air Charter, there should be a term in the franchise. Bus companies, in buying new buses, should aim at new buses that are environment friendly. The franchise condition should be implemented in the coming renewal of franchises. So the new buses bought will be in line with Euro 4 above standards. There should also be a timetable for replacement of the old buses. In 2017, quite a number of buses will retire. Will the administration pay attention to the low emission zones and set up a clear timetable and tell us when can there be truly low emission zones? The next speaker, Mr. Yu Ka-chun, the Chairman of the Traffic and Transport Committee, Shatin District Council. I will speak on local affairs. The franchises will soon expire. We pay special attention to that. I noticed that there is little mutual complementarity arrangement between the city bus and also the KMB. 680 and 682 are very frequent, and in fact those living in NT East can change the buses at Taiskan Tunnel portal so that they can go directly to Hong Kong Island, but there is no such arrangement of paying for the difference of fares. Now the government has agreed, or rather the bus companies have agreed to standardizing fares and standardizing for standardized routes. As for going to Seoul Court, the arrangement is just for going to Seoul Court. I think the bus company should introduce standardized fare for standardized routes. As for 682, from Ma'anshan to City 1, there is a sectional charge of $16. As for the return trip from Taiwan to North Point, there is no sectional fare. You pay $19, and there is only sectional fare after passing the tunnel, cross-harbor tunnel. I hope the review can be conducted as soon as possible. There is a monthly pass for the railway. Can bus companies also introduce monthly passes? As for technology, we all have smartphones. By making use of GPS, bus companies can enhance their service it can be more interactive. Say, when I leave home, can I check with my smartphone and know where the bus, when the bus will come at the stop I want to take a bus? We should step up the interfacing and interaction with smartphones. In the East, there is a hospital cluster: North Hospital, Netherlands Hospital, Prince of Wales Hospital. Among the three hospitals, there are no direct public transport links. I hope the administration can provide a bus service that go around these three hospitals within the same cluster. Thank you. Next, Ms. Chan Hu-Wai of the Lion Rock Institute. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Chairman, well, I want to point out a strange phenomenon. If you look at the BSS roads, you can see a double-decker bus which can accommodate 100 people, have only a few passengers, including the driver. It doesn't happen during the non-peak hours. It happens during the peak hours.
情況係好怪咁樣。如果咧純粹係講怪嘅話，
Don't you find it strange? If it hasn't happened, the Lion Rock Institute will not have said so. There are many strange phenomena in Hong Kong, and if you want to name them one by one, you will be out of breath. During peak hours, buses are just empty. You need a lot of energy to drive a bus of several dozen or so tons. The buses occupy a lot of road space, and they block the road of other road users. And other buses which are full, and the passengers have to subsidize these buses which are empty. We should liberate the bus companies, let them set their own routes, set their own fares, so that they can compete with other means of public transport. When buses are competing with other means of public transports, bus services will be better and better. When there is more competition, then we can go from A to B, will be most efficient. Elected politicians and officials who are not backed by public mandate are the same. They just play with the public transport, and the buses are just like toys. If they reorganize buses, they will have to throw away the old buses, but they are not able to. They will not like to do that. The elderly should also be cared for, and if you want to compete with other means of public transport, will you think of some ways to enhance the service? Next, Ms. Sarah Wong of the Civic Party. I want to speak on the bus service of Tai Kok Tsui. We are between Nam Chang and Olympic stations, and our residents have to walk about 1 kilometer. But if we take a bus, $3.8. 31B has no sectional fare, no body ticket. There is GMB, there is sectional fare, but during peak hours, there aren't enough seats for passengers who are in the middle, who have to get on in the middle of the route. And sometimes the traveling is about 20 minutes, and people will not consider that. For those who are going to the islands, rather to Hong Kong Island, they will get the 914 and 914X during morning peak hours. 914 after 8:18, the next bus is 8:42, a 24-minute interval. The interval is more than the stated interval of 10 minutes. You'll be late for work. If you want to go to Sai Ying Pond, 905 will only allow you to go, but it will not bring you back. you have to choose 914 and stop at the Western WHC portal and then switch to 905, 906, and you'll pay another $13.6. And that is more expensive than just 12.50 by another route. Now this is a joint route of the KMB and City Bus, and therefore there is no paying of differences, and we have not been benefited by bus services or by the railway service. The railway cannot be point to point, and buses are asked to cut their service after the completion of railway. Then you are just driving people to resort to other means, say for example by driving to their work. Franchise bus has been declining in service, and KMB has cut about 290 buses over the years. And the route changing package is not attractive. There are two bus companies, and they do not cooperate. There is lack of coordination between the bus companies. The government should cancellate joint routes, and in the new franchise, the routes should be taken back and then put up for auction by bus companies again. Next, Mr. Wong Po Kang of the Hong Kong Taxi Owners Association Limited. Good morning, officials. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. The view of our association is as follows. Our view is similar to that of Ms. Chan of the Lion Royal Institute. The roads of Hong Kong are seriously congested. Air is very polluted. Taxi drivers are concerned about this. Saving energy, reducing emission are necessary.
The roads are congested, and often vehicles are sort of trapped on roads, and they have emissions, producing all kinds of waste gas in large quantities. Ms. Chan has just rightly pointed out that in busy areas like Causeway Bay, Nathan Road, buses are running over these areas, but there are only few passengers. But then the road space in these areas is often occupied by buses. This is a vicious cycle, and it leads to waste in energy, and bus trips are often delayed, and buses could not divert passengers. So we hope that bus route rationalization can be done as soon as possible so that buses can be on time and take passengers to the destinations on time. If passengers have delays, and that is also a loss of the society as a whole. And if we can improve road congestion, then the whole society can benefit. People's health can be safeguarded, and there will be a reduction in public expenditure on medical services. And also for bus routes during midnight, the frequencies don't have to be very high because there are few passengers, and they are not such services are not cost effective. If operating costs go up because of that, then the costs will be passed on to the passengers, and that would not be good for the society as a whole. Thank you. Mr. Terence Chair, CFM Management Company Limited. Good morning, Chairman. We are a PLB trade association. Why are we here today? Because we are a stakeholder in public transport services in Hong Kong. We play a similar role as buses. So on this bus open hearing, when we talk about franchised buses, I hope that you would also consider PLB services. Whether you have read the Bible or not, there is this verse in the Bible that all things work together for the good of over a good of the society. Well, there are different parts and services in the public transport sector, and whether we can do a good job, it depends on whether the government and the secretary is doing a good coordinating job. How should work be divided among the different transport modes? Some deputations have mentioned that for some roads, they're not suitable for buses to go along, and mismatch of resources will put even further by financial pressure on bus companies, and the government is putting the railway first, but at the same time, it should do a coordinating role to make sure that the PLBs can play a complementary role. We are not enemies to the bus companies. I think we should complement each other. We are just serving the Hong Kong public just like the bus companies. We want to gain the best benefit for ourselves, and also we hope the members of the public can benefit more too. Now, in new public housing estates where railway is not available, then we'll first have a PLB, and then when the population rises, we introduce buses, and when the area is further developed, then railways will be introduced. But then today what we're seeing is that whenever or wherever there is a railway service, and all the other public transport services will be eliminated. Taxi companies, PLB companies have little room to survive. Should we increase the capacity of PLB in the future? Thank you. Mr. William Wong, Sunshine Transportation Hong Kong Company Limited. Good morning, everyone. I'm a PLB operator. Today we are discussing public transport. PLB's role is rather vague because our capacity is limited. Our fares come under the regulation of the government. I think the government should have the aim of providing the best benefit to members of the public in drawing up transport policies. We are under different restrictions, we have speed limits, and we have less and less room to survive in our operations. So through this open hearing, I hope that the government can further relax its policies on PLBs, for example, allowing us to increase our capacity, the width and the height of our vehicles. Some PLBs operate via hospitals, and some passengers are asking for us to have low platforms installed to take the PWDs. So can we be allowed to operate such vehicles with low platform facilities? So the government, can you consider our suggestion here? Thank you. I would like to remind you that we will have another open hearing on PLBs. So that other session will focus on PLBs. Next one, MT Transport International, Ms. Chow. Thank you, everyone. I would like to promote a new concept here. The government is making life difficult for franchised buses under a subsidy policy. So can we be sort of transporting air, well, so to speak? We are asking that services are still provided, bus services, despite that there will be a reduction in service. We would also try to promote improvement of air quality. The Lanrock's Institute mentioned that there is a problem of buses carrying too few passengers during the peak period. So perhaps we can think about how to improve the air quality in Hong Kong. We are suggesting that we should aim at transporting air, clean air, so to speak. Now, franchised buses have their own important role, but the government is developing so many railways, and the bus companies will have more difficult days ahead in their operation. Now, if there are more buses, and air pollution problem is going to deteriorate. Now, the Lanrock Institute has suggested that the buses companies should hand over their service to the PLBs, and there are a win-win-win situation. The bus companies can still operate and try to transport clean air, and then also the green groups can still continue to operate, and people won't go out of job. If there is more pollution on the roads, then the observatory can still continue with its operation, so that can help drive the development of our economy. I think that the solution is simple. You should stop subsidizing the public transport. You should do a better job in coordinating the different transport modes. Second, please also ask those bus companies which are not interested in operating bus, stop your service and hand over your franchise. Let me reiterate. Please stop your subsidy policy and then ask the bus companies which are not interested in operating bus services to close down altogether. Well, Ms. Zhang, you have very innovative ideas. Next one, Friends of the Earth, Mr. Adrian Chen. We are concerned about air pollution in Hong Kong. We are a green group. We ask bus companies to introduce low-emission buses. We also ask the government to give priority to franchised bus companies in the use of roads. We are now putting railway first, and buses are playing a complementary role. The room for survival for bus companies is getting less, and the patronage is dropping, and the stability of the services is also adversely affected. In the TAC last year, it has submitted a report to the THB, and it establishes that private roads are the culprit of congestion on roads, and particularly during peak periods, the central is very congested, and because of the large number of private vehicles, buses are to suffer because there is road congestion, and there are problems with air pollution, large concentration of pollutants on road surface, and pedestrians are to suffer. And in the 1990 White Paper on Transport Policy, it is set out clearly that road management is one of the aims of transport policies for the government. Buses should enjoy priority in the use of roads, but regrettably, the administration has not followed up with this earlier policy set, and it is inclined, or its policy is skewed towards railway and let private vehicles occupy road service. So we think that the government should reestablish the positioning of the franchise bus companies and give them the priority to use roads. For example, designating bus-only lanes during the peak periods and restricting other vehicles to use such roads during the peak periods to reduce emission. Thank you. Mr. Chung Chi-Kei, Motor Transport Workers General Union, Long Win Bus Branch. Thank you, Chairman. The government's policy is putting railway first and having buses playing a complementary role. I hope that the government could draw policies allowing them to survive. Bus stops at Yatong Estate. The design of the bus stop has to be redone again in order for the 12-meter buses to be able to stop. Also, for road design in Tongcheng, this is a new town. How come that the roads are so narrow that the buses have to take up and occupy the other lane before they can turn around? Well, how can't you do a better job in your design of the roads? Is this a policy issue or a design issue? And I would also like to talk about en route bus stops. Well, a lot of other vehicles are using or parking at the bus stops en route, and people are parking in these bus stops, and buses have to stop outside or far away from the bus stops, and the bus drivers are under a lot of pressure because of this. The gentleman asked about, talked about giving priority to buses in the use of roads. I dare not even think about it. They vote road from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, or Taxico Road in Xinhuan. Buses are not allowed, but then heavy-duty vehicles are allowed. Buses carry a lot of passengers who may have to interchange to other public transport modes, and because the buses are operating via Taxico Road, the passengers may experience spend 2 to 3 minutes before they can get to their destinations. So there is this kind of invisible hand regulating the buses. Also, traffic light design. Can we have countdown lighting, flashing lighting? Well, bus drivers cannot put a stop to their buses when they're driving at a speed of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. We have some countdown traffic signals?
Next, Mr. Lam of the bus union. The alliance is a view that the present treatment of bus is not fair. Railways have been completed. People have alternatives to public alternatives, but there are always, from time to time, failures of the railway system. Bus companies have to redeploy buses to remedy the situation. But buses have their fixed routes, and there aren't too many excess reserve buses available. The Transport Department doesn't allow the bus companies to expand their fleet. When the railway fails, there aren't extra buses available. With the completion of new railways, there is reorganization bus routes. Reorganization bus routes is only for cutting routes rather than starting new routes. This is a clampdown on the development buses. Buses provide point-to-point service. This is what people demand. It's speedy. There are seats. There are better seating capacities. We should make good use of the bus service. The alliance is the view that after reorganization, there should be more point-to-point service, better bus routes, and maintain a livelihood for the bus drivers. The government is the major shareholder of the railway. People are forced to take the railway. If the government should also buy up the bus service so that there can be a more rational allocation of passengers. We are criticized for missing trips and also for delays, but most of the delays are caused by traffic congestion. Therefore, we cannot arrive on time. Traffic congestions are sometimes caused by tourist coaches, so that we cannot get into our bus stop, and also our ways are blocked. The GMBs do not stop at the right place, and they also cause congestions. And there are also skips collecting waste materials, and they are put in the streets and blocking the road. Our alliance's view that we need to balance the development of buses. You cannot just ask buses to play a supplementary role. When you have a problem, you ask the bus companies to help. Otherwise, you give priority to the railway company. Thank you. Next. Mr. Lam Campio of the New World First Bus Company Staff Union. The government give priority to railway service. Now, bus service is supervised by the Transport Department. The bus industry is suffering from unfair competition. The Transport Department should be held responsible. The government blames buses for causing pollution and require bus companies to cut down on their fleet. They are also forced to reorganize the routes. Now, we can make good use of resources, but you have to consider the interests of the district councils, the passengers, and the bus companies. Most of the reorganization cannot be implemented. Say, for example, number 70 of the KMB. It's a classic case. The reorganization is very slow, and finally, the fare is increased, and people lose out. The reorganization aims at cutting bus service instead of reorganization and rationalization. The new railway service will reduce the number of passengers, but buses can provide more convenient service. Existing resources should not be cut. We oppose simply cutting routes as a way of rationalization. Point-to-point service is very attractive to the passengers. It's speedy and efficient. 263 of KMB, 5X of CMB, and of Citybus, and also 798. In fact, bus services are reliable, more reliable than railways, because railways do from time to time break down. We're also concerned about traffic congestion, fares, and also the treatment of drivers. The business situation or business environment of the bus operation will be improved so that the livelihood of the drivers can be enhanced and we can provide quality service to the public. In 2012, we made a submission to the Transport Department, and we hope the Transport Department will follow the matter up. But after several years have elapsed, there is no reply from the Transport Department. Recently, we wanted to meet the Transport Department, but they didn't want to see us, and we're just waiting. We submit our view here once again, and I hope the Transport Panel and the Transport Department can respond to us positively. Thank you. Next, Mr. Lee Kwok Wah of the KMB Staff Union. Bus service is an important public transport service, but the most important thing is to run on time. The road is very congested because there is always goods vehicles and other vehicles stopping and setting down passengers and goods or picking up passengers and goods. They block the way. Point-to-point service is what people like, and there should be more bus service, point-to-point bus service. There should be more room for bus development. Thank you. Next. Mr. Tang Sin-heng of the City Bus Limited Employees Union. Thank you, Chairman. The first issue is on missing trips. We had meetings with the Transport Department in 2010, and we raised this issue. There are many black spots in Causeway Bay and also in Wan Chai. The speakers have spoken on that. In Causeway Bay, at the bus stop, say outside Sogo, there are about 20 routes. If you just give 1 minute per bus, then it will mean 20 minutes. Do we have enough time to do so? Concerning the waste collection skips. 1 year ago, we asked the Transport Department to deal with that. Which department is responsible for looking after these skips? They put a skip at the bus stop to collect waste. We cannot get in our bus stop, or we will have to park to stop the bus in the middle of the road. If there is any accident, we'll be held responsible. If there is a fire that burned the skip, then no one is to take it away. If it's a private car, then when there is a driver, you can ask the driver to drive his car away. But if there is a fire that burned the skip down, then who is to deal with that? In 2010, we raised this issue with the Transport Department. Up till now, no one has answered us. I hope the Transport Department will also extend the restricted hours so that priority can be given to buses. As the journey time set by the company, the Transport Department just conduct sample surveys on the journey time, and the situation, the data are not updated. We are frontline drivers. We hope that we can have regular meetings with the Transport Department and reflect our views with the Transport Department, and to discuss so that they can discuss with the company. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Ka-long. Sorry, speakers are coming through. The GMBs are not able to provide low-floor GMBs, and they cannot replace the buses. As for the LDP, some bus routes will be cancelled, and GMBs will take up those routes. That may breach law. Cap 487, Section 26, the DDO. I reserve the right to complain to the EOC and also the Ombudsman's Office. The scale, the bus fare scale regulates the fee charging for the whole route, and there is no sectional fare. There is no regulation of sectional fare. Bus companies have no obligation to provide sectional fares. Therefore, long routes between Kowloon and the New Territories may have sectional fare, but the sectional fare will be more expensive than similar routes which are shorter. There is a need to introduce a reasonable sectional fare so as to reduce empty buses. Hong Kong has good public transport service, but the connections and the public interchange arrangements are very bad. The 3 cross-harbour routes are run by 2 bus companies. There is no interchange arrangement. Just like the lady from the Lions Rock Club, Lions Rock Institute, there are many empty buses because there is no interchange arrangement. If the bus route is run by a single company instead of by 2, or if the government hire franchise franchise buses to run certain routes like the Macau situation that will help to improve the situation. As for rationalization or reorganization, the impact should be explained to the public and let people explain. Let people decide whether they want a new railway or they want buses. Building new railway requires a lot of money. It is our money. If you build railways haphazardly, you will have bad railway service and no bus service. In December last year, a mainland website quoted a certain person. Your time is up. Mr. Tang Wai-Chang of the Motor Transport Workers General Union. Thank you, Chairman. We've already given a view on the PTSS in writing. I just highlight 2 points. As frontline workers, we think that the transport authorities in planning public transport is going too fast in developing so many railway projects. With the completion of the 5 new railways in September 2014, the authorities published the LDP 2014. It will, from 2018 to 2026, there will be 7 new railways. And they will cover more than 75% of the population and 80% of the job opportunities. As for WIL and SIL, there will be 61 bus routes on the island, and 11 cross-harbor tunnel routes will be affected, and 180,000 passengers will be diverted to the railway. Buses are competing with railway. How can there be promoting the complementary functions between different modes of public transport? There will be less and less room for the buses, and the livelihood of the bus drivers will be affected. Last year, with the opening of the WIL, 130,000 passengers from Kennedy Station and University Station switched to the railway. Passengers declined by 35%. During peak hours, sometimes the capacity utilization rate is only 55%. The drivers feel that their future is gloomy.
So no other people would like to join this bus industry, and incumbent employees are also very worried. Bus companies will reorganize bus routes, and inevitably manpower will be cut substantially. And staff are worried about their jobs. So the administration, when you conduct PTSS, should also consider the livelihood of the frontline drivers. Second, the CE in the policy address mentioned that there will be new public housing development and new town development. Sorry, the time's up. Motor Transport Workers General Union LB Branch, Mr. Lam Po Kang. Thank you, Chairman. Lantau Island is a tourist spot. It connects the airport and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. There will be commercial developments and residential developments in Lantau. Population is bound to rise. According to the information from the Tourism Board, in 2017, 70 million visitors will arrive in Hong Kong. And the bridge will be patronized by 50 million people. Now, in 2030, third runway will be commissioned. The patronage is projected at 100 million. So you can see that at Lantau, apart from the Ngongping cable car facility, the buses are the major transport means on Lantau Island. So I believe that the THB should consider how to enhance the capacity of buses on Lantau Island. It should conduct a comprehensive review and make forward planning. For example, from Tai O to Mui Wo, Keung San Road, Yulan Road, you have to widen those roads and also install pavements. And there should be bus stops, safe bus stops built for people to get on and get off buses. You should also review the use of single-decker and replace them with double-deckers to enhance capacity. Second, environmental protection. The THB should raise its awareness on environmental protection, especially in view of the geographic conditions of Lantau. We have many hills, minimal lowland. How can we build an expressway going around the Lantau Island? And we should consider also how to cut down on emission of vehicles, cut down on the use of fuel, and improve the environment of Lantau as a whole. Thank you, Chairman. Next one. Motor Transport Workers General Union, Kowloon Bus Branch, Ms. Cheng Wai Kwan. Good morning. I'm Cheng. Thank you, Chairman, and everyone. I speak on behalf of the 12,000 KMB employees. We support railway development, but we object the government giving favor to railway development. Whenever a railway is commissioned, bus service have to be cut, and we have to hand over our services. And in the past, we tried to do cross subsidy, having the long overhaul journeys subsidizing the short journeys. And district councillors have been criticizing us for not providing service in certain areas. But then we think the government has not been doing a good job in enforcing the law against illegal parking. The government has not looked into the cause why that there are delayed bus trips. Don't blame us. During peak hours, there is road congestion, and during peak hours, we have to use more buses, say 10 to 20 vehicles in Causeway Bay and Wan Chai. We can mobilize more buses, but the question is, the road congestion is causing delays of the trips. So I hope that the administration can look into the situation where buses are sort of trapped in busy roads during peak hours. Every bus measures around 12 meters in length. And if we put a lot of buses on the roads during peak hours, then there is congestion. We also support interchange concessions. For bus routes affected by railway projects, we have cut down on services and posts, and that has a direct impact on our livelihood. I hope that the administration should take care of interest of the bus companies in terms of your public transport strategies. And also you should provide more interchange arrangements, and so don't let railway project affect the livelihood of our bus drivers. Thank you. Next one, Motor Transport Workers General Union, New World Bus Branch, Mr. Chen Xuming. Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. The employees are under a lot of stress. the railway development has caused a lot of congestion, including areas in To Kwa Wan where railway project construction work is underway. So there is a lot of congestion. And also, the government is providing fare concessions to PWDs and the elderly. And their taking the journey may affect our journey time. And as a result, there may be lost trips or delayed trips. And sometimes buses can actually go into the bus stops. Or they may be stopping in the middle of the road. Safety is jeopardized. And stopping at the bus stops will also affect the use of roads of other road users. And also, for example, for the West Island Line, buses, because of the commissioning of the WIL, the bus schedule has to be changed, and drivers may have to go and get the buses in different locations than before. And because of this one railway development project, it has all sorts of impact on the operation of the bus companies. I would also like to say that the CE said in his policy address that new town will be developed in the future, PRH will be developed, and inevitably bus services have to be provided for these places. And the past, there have been complaints about facilities at bus terminus. There have been complaints about lack of facilities like resting rooms and lavatories for the bus drivers and so on. Sometimes these facilities are temporary establishments and they're not good enough. In new towns, I hope that better facilities can be put up at the bus terminus. And sometimes the structure, the materials for the structure is not good enough, and the temperature is too high within these structures also. Next one, Mr. Quentin Cheung from Labour Department. Thank you, Chairman. The railway network has developed so far, and railway provides all sorts of convenience to members of the public. This should be a good thing, but regrettably, whenever there is a new railway project, the government is keen to cut down on services of other public transport modes. They are pitting the railway against the other public transport modes. For example, the WIL line has been commissioned recently. It's true that bus patronage has dropped, but then there are still areas where the railway is not services provided. For example, city bus number 10 and also 40. I mean, the drop in the patronage of these two bus routes is not that high. But then the bus companies are cutting substantially the services of these two routes. The statistics were collected in January, but then at that time, the Hong Kong U students are still having a school term break, and you said that there has been a patronage. So I don't think these statistics are not reliable, and we should not cut the services of these routes based on those statistics. In fact, Hong Kong's population has been surging, and the tourist numbers has also been rising. But for franchised bus companies, the patronage has dropped by 10%. Non-franchised bus services, for example, coaches, school buses, and also residence service coaches, their patronage has also dropped, and the investment on them has also declined. The government has been claiming that it wants to improve on the quality of a public transport network, but what we are seeing is that fares are rising, there is more congestion, and so on. So what has the government done? Now, transport policy has everything to do with town planning. we are seeing road congestion today, and the public transport can help ease the congestion. But in the government's planning in recent years, is not drawing up a good enough policies. It is trying actually to leave little room for public transport modes. And it seems the government is letting private vehicles grow incessantly. I think if the government is to take forward the PTSS, it should try not to pit the railway against other public transport modes like PLB and so on. And if you don't do that, then the public will not gain. Next one, Mr. Paul Zimmerman.
Chairman, representatives of government and one legislator, I'd like to make a few points on this study. One is that the public transport operators are private businesses, and they win a contract to provide a public transport service. In the contracts with them, we should also now make it mandatory that they provide public transport information. And this goes beyond just kind of where is the bus. This got to go much further than that. This got to make sure that we know how many people are on the bus, and we know how many people are boarding or got off at which bus stop. We don't have to know who they are, but we have to know the numbers. Now, normally these operators consider this private, commercial and confidential information, which is hard for the transport department to find out. They have to do separate surveys, but all the information could be available with GPSs, which are cheap, and by linking up the Octopus facilities on the bus. We would know it instantly. Now, in other cities that are now considering themselves smart cities, as we like to do, this information is considered open data that should be mandatory streamed online by those operators, and it should be open and freely accessible for all people in the community to make use of. Then people will organize new phone apps, people will use that information to do analysis, and so on. Is this good or bad for the bus operators? Ultimately, it will not have an impact on their business. What it will do is that maybe some minibus operators will start to adjust their service because of loading data that they can monitor online, or taxis start to show up at places where it's very busy. So the overall impact is that the transport service available to the Hong Kong community will dramatically improve. And that is what is important. The overall impact on the bus companies will be limited because they will have their role within the transport network, and the minibuses and taxis have their role, but everybody will be able to be more responsive to the actual traffic and transport situations. So therefore, we urge the government to make sure that in their agreements with the operators, it is not just about providing public transport service, but it is also about providing public transport information. I'd like to make two separate points. One is, why are there no seats at the bus stops in the new territories and the public puts their own seats out? All crummy seats that they put in themselves. Why is that? And the other point I'd like to make is, we should make shorter buses. Shorter buses have a shorter tail and they don't block as much traffic. Thank you.
Oh, highway.
Next. Bike back on bus at Hong Kong. Mr. Chen Kao-leung, spokesperson. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just now a speaker mentioned the Bible. Said that there is a division of labor, and according to share the work according to each member of the body. Now, we ask for a bike rack on a bus. Now, buses take up a lot of road space, and they have the duty to promote the use of transport, and that is buses, and that is bicycles. Bicycles can help to deal with congestion, but bicycles are not means of public transport, in particular in the urban area. I think bikes can play a very important role. If bikes are a means of transport that will help to solve congestions. Now the buses face heavy congestion. Now, within the government's public transport policy, there is no bike-friendly policy or measure. If you want to bring a bicycle on bus, we are refused. In 2012, the Bureau made a suggestion to the TAC. A bike could be folded up and then bring on a bus. But according to the means of the instruction, or rather the agreement to carry, it cannot be more than 5 kilometers or 0.1 cubic meters. Not a single bus, not a single bike or a folded up bike can meet that requirement. Now, public buses have to carry bikes because bikes play a very important role in short distance travels. But if you want to go from Sha Tin to New Territories, you will have to make use of public transport to cross over the barriers. They cannot go through the tunnels. The bikes cannot go through the tunnels. Say if in front of the bike, in front of the bus, there can be bicycle racks. Just like overseas countries, then bikes can play a very important role as an adjunct public transport service facility. That will not take up space in the bus. It can be operated by the cycler himself or herself, and the bike follows the cyclist. I hope the bus companies consider adding a bicycle rack to the buses. Next speaker, KMB 1933 Limited, Mr. Roger Lee. First of all, I thank the administration for inviting the KMB to participate in the PTSS consultation. We have given our written views. I will not repeat them. I hope the administration will consider that. The study by the administration is very close to what we think. We want to enhance the quality of public transport services in the future. Every day, KMB carries more than 2 million passengers, and we put passengers first.
快啦、可靠啦，同埋呢個舒適、安全呢，亦都係我哋。
Comfort and efficiency are overriding principles. We've heard a lot of views in terms of using technology, better communication with passengers, and more importantly, to work with government. Let me give you a few examples in terms of speed and efficiency and comfort. I think we want to make use of traffic management technology to provide more road space for buses so that our operation can be more smoothly. That will make the journey more reliable. The KMB hopes that we can install a bus information system very soon so that more information can be provided to passengers via the smartphone. They will know when the bus will arrive, and they will also know how much time they need to arrive at their destinations. Safety, of course, is important. There are more than 8,000 drivers, more than 3,000 buses carrying more than 2 million passengers. We will make use of technology more in terms of maintenance of buses and training of our colleagues to ensure safety. Now, 40 years ago, the KMB introduced the luxury buses. Now, in the study, the administration also mentioned that. That provides an alternative. Drivers of private cars will stop using their cars and they patronize our luxury buses. The government should consider the needs of different needs of the community. With regard to improving public transport service, we have a shared interest with the government, and the KMB will do its best to assist the government in completing the study, and we hope that we can move into a new era in terms of public transport. Next, Mr. Chung Chi-wai of the City Joy Investment Limited. Yes, ours is a GMB company. We support reorganizing the bus route. Say in Tseung Kwan O, the bus company deployed double-deckers. They didn't have too many passengers, which to single-decker. Finally, they canceled the route, and the route is now served by a GMB. And in fact, that's efficient because we provide speedy and less expensive service. We've noticed there are duplication routes. Say we go to Tseung Kwan O from Hong Kong. There are buses, there are GMBs. We provide overnight service, but the bus company also provide overnight service. But there aren't too many customers. Reorganizing the route, avoiding duplication will be best for both of us. You waste your time, we waste our resources if there is duplication. I hope there can be better arrangement. If the bus companies can't find the route viable, then we will do it. We only have 16 seats per GMB. But if the bus companies do not provide the service, then the 16-seat GMB may not be big enough to accommodate all the passengers. I think reorganization, rationalization route is necessary. It helps to avoid duplication service. If the route only has 10 passengers, then it's not viable for the bus, but it may be viable for the GMB. Duplication cannot help. Both of us cannot survive. Rationalization is important. If we have to follow up, then passengers will have no choice. Next, Mr. Ng Chung Tat. Thank you, Chairman. The public transport policy by the government is just like playing SimCity. You want to make money with the lowest cost. You've not considered how to facilitate passengers. In the PTSS, the administration still upholds the railway as backbone policy. This policy has caused the cancellation of many bus routes because of new railway service. But if we uphold the free market in Hong Kong, why can't there be competition between the railways and the buses, in particular in the new territories? If you cut the bus service, you just force people to patronize expensive railway service. But the railway service is bursting to the seams. People have to stand when they go to work. People have to stand in the railway when they go back home. You just harm the passengers. Say in Tseung Kwan O, when the railway breaks down, then the passengers suffer. As for reorganization of bus routes, the so-called reorganization is just to cut service and save resources. The interests of passengers have never been considered, and there are a lot of inconsistencies and also conflicts among the districts. We are not people in the SimCity. We are living human beings. We have to go to work, we have to go home every day by means of public transport. When we take public transport, we want to have a break. But we are just being squeezed like sardines into the railway, into the trains. The government should consider this. The third point is unfair. Whether it's MTRCL or the bus companies, their fare adjustment mechanism only enables them to increase fares. Some bus companies just segregated the other businesses so that on their books they show that they are making losses in terms of provision of service and they can raise fares. But if they do so, then they better hand back the franchise in 2016. Next, Mr. Newton, City Bus Limited. Franchise buses are the most effective means of road-based transport. There are many seats, and passengers don't need to change buses very often. Now, just asking the franchise buses to play the role of a feeder service is not appropriate. Buses can bring passengers directly to the city and also bring passengers across districts and bring passengers across the border. Buses have to share road space with other vehicles. And with heavier congestion, speed is reduced and passengers go to other means of public transport. There are vehicles occupying the slow lane, and buses have to stop in the middle of the road to sit down and pick up passengers. I hope the study will introduce suitable measures to assist buses to operate smoothly in busy areas, attract more passengers to buses, so that they will not rely on other means of transport which occupy more road space. The government should deal with the black spots and then put up CCTV systems at black spots to deal with illegal parking and illegal occupation of bus stops. There should also be a management team to clear the ground to make sure the traffic is smooth. I hope that the study can set out principles and consider new routes for buses in new developed areas. And the routes should not be tortuous and long, and there should also be bus depot in the districts. As for the planning of franchise bus and GMB routes are at present done separately, and there is no complementary arrangement. The regulation of GMBs and light buses are more relaxed. There is serious duplication between buses, franchise buses and GMBs. Increasing the seating capacity of GMBs will only cause more competition. And for the railways, sometimes they only have 3-car trains, and they're just like a bus. There's a need to plan the bus routes. If even the bus cannot survive, you better reconsider whether you should provide a rail service. Next. New World First Bus Service Limited, Mr. William Chung. In comparison with railway, the buses are able to provide point-to-point service and also more seating capacity. Because there is no dedicated road for buses, we are subject to congestion. We need to put in more resources to maintain the frequency that increase costs and put pressure on fares.
好多發言人呢就要求巴士公司話做多啲改善嘅措施啦，提升服務啦，提升各種嘅票價優惠等等啦。每一種都係需要錢嘅。香港嘅專營巴士公司呢係以私人商業原則經營，政府係冇給予我哋補貼，所以我哋巴士公司係要平衡呢票價同埋乘客嘅需要、員工嘅生計同埋股東嘅利益。城巴港島嘅路線呢，喺97年至到而家冇加過價，城巴嘅機場路線97、98年開線至今冇加過價，新巴就喺2008年至到今冇加過價。其實呢啲除咗因為喺過去10幾年呢，港島區係未受到呢個新鐵路嘅影響之外呢，亦都係有賴於我哋一路都有嚴格控制我哋嗰個成本。同埋咧係重組一啲乘客低嘅路線。
We have been trying to control costs as much as possible, and we have developed new bus routes. So we hope that the government can draw up policies to ensure that we can provide the best service at reasonable fares. Thank you. The next one is Kowloon Motor Bus Workers General Union, Mr. Chan Tat Ho. Thank you, Chairman. We have several points to make. We speak for the drivers. In Hong Kong, Kowloon and New Territories, there are a number of bus stops with poor design, and actually buses cannot get in, and also the space is also taken up by other cars illegally parked there. Second, for KMB, we do provide for space for wheelchair persons to get on and off buses at bus stops. We also adopt low platform buses, and this is all very good. But sometimes these facilities couldn't be put to use because many bus stops have been there are vehicles parking illegally at bus stops. So please address this issue. Third, during the morning and evening peak hours, there may be heavy traffic congestion. And during those times, can we designate more bus-only lanes to make this trip smoother for bus companies, and also we can reduce emission as a result? And I said, last thing I want to say is that we hope that the franchise of KMB can be renewed because it has to do with the livelihood of several thousand families. Thank you. The next one, Public Transport Think Tank of Hong Kong, Mr. Poon Wai Cheung. Thank you, Chairman. I noticed that many speakers, whether they are from the sector or not, have very accurate observations. I won't repeat the points they made. I would like to focus on discussing the unclear role of the franchised bus companies. I would like to highlight some points. Their positioning is unclear for the different transport modes, and because of this, the different public transport modes are competing against each other. The government is also resorting to administrative means to make it difficult for some companies to survive, and passengers' choices are reduced as a result. Costs for developing transport infrastructures are high, and people are objecting to some of these infrastructure facilities. We're talking about public money in building infrastructure transport projects. We have, as taxpayers, have to pay for all these projects. And also, franchised bus companies have the advantage of providing point-to-point service. But for some feeder services they provide, actually, the PLB are also covering those routes. Should we be asking the franchise bus companies to provide point-to-point service and ask PLBs to withdraw from some of the routes? This is very key. And also, more importantly, in the interest of time, non-franchised coaches serving residents in remote areas, these services are very welcome by residents. And for their fees, well, it's found that their fees are lower than those of franchised bus services. And for resident service coaches, they operate with greater flexibility. So hence, we see a lot of illegal resident service coaches operating because they are so very welcome. So, of course, they come with their own problems, but today is not the occasion to discuss their services particularly. Anyway, I think the government is not playing a proper role in monitoring all these services. Next one. is Mr. Ventislau, Community Officer from New Democrats. The New Democrats has sent in our written submission, and I would highlight several points here. The first one is about the monitoring of the bus frequencies, the mechanism for doing that. People said that there are fewer and fewer passengers taking franchised buses. Residents have been telling us, however, that point-to-point service of franchise buses is good, but the question is the buses are not on schedule, there are delayed trips, so they are forced to take MTR. In 2014, the Ombudsman has released a report saying that there are loopholes in the Transport Department's monitoring of the bus frequencies. And the mechanism that they're using is that as long as the bus companies can make up for the shortfall of lost trips within a day, then they're doing okay. Then this is not good. The Transport Department is not monitoring the bus companies properly. Now it's been 1 year since the report was released. The Transport Department is sticking to the use of the old calculation method, and especially when they are vetting the renewal application for city bus and new land tower bus, they're still using the same old approach. That is very disappointed. I think the TD should review this mechanism and also increase the penalty for bus companies for lost trips. Also, fare adjustment mechanism. The present mechanism takes into account the return of the bus companies, but then the bus companies are spinning off some part of their business like roadshow, and as a result, they are still able to have a fare increase while they are earning a profit as a whole. So the New Democrats suggest the government should review this fare adjustment mechanism, and that all businesses of the bus companies, including roadshow, revenue from advertising, should be counted towards the bus company's profits in the review of fares. Also, the new technology use, and in Singapore, the government has been using GPS to provide real-time bus information to passengers, just like what we are seeing in MTR now. And also, the Singapore has in 2012 expanded the service to mobile phone apps, so the passengers can have real-time information on bus services. Now, Hong Kong is lagging behind, obviously, compared to these other cities, and the New Democrats is asking the government to ask the companies, bus companies, to adopt newer technologies, using display panels to give bus information, and also use mobile apps to give bus information. Next one, Mr. Tan Ming Fong from Choi Kee. Yuen Long Maxi-Cab Route PLB Limited. A PLB operator. I'm not sure that I should join this meeting on franchised bus service discussion. Some individuals have discussed PLB services just now. The PLBs do play a certain role in public transport. We operate routes mainly in Yuen Long, San Tin Hung in Yuen Long. Can railway reach these areas? And also for the shortest single-decker bus, can they actually go into the San Tin village in Yuen Long? And also during morning and evening peak hours when people have to go to school and go to work, and also during the non-peak hours, the bus, any transport operators, when operating certain services, have to pay for fuel and so on. But generally speaking, PLB operates at a lower cost, and they operate in a more cost-effective way than railway, of course. So PLBs do have their role to play in public transport in Hong Kong. I agree with the chairman well, I note that the chairman said that there will be another open hearing to discuss PLBs. But on this particular occasion today, I would like to remind the government not to disregard the role of PLBs. Try to consider the relationship between the operation of the PLBs and buses. Should we complement each other? Should we compete against each other? One other point is how we should enhance our services for our passengers and how we can build a more harmonious society in Hong Kong. Thank you, Chairman. Next one. Choi Kee Mongkok Maxicab Route PLB Limited, Mr. Tam Chi Shing, Director. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everyone here. We also operate PLB. We suggest reorganization of routes because of railway development, but we should not have duplication among the different transport modes, or else we'll be seeing a knock-on effect. Now, when we reorganize bus routes and if interchange concessions are to be provided, please, government, discuss with those affected, including us, so that the GMB operators can have sufficient time to consider how to rearrange their routes. Well, the operation environment is very difficult for us, and the cost per seat is very high. And sometimes passengers have to wait also for a long time before they can get on a GMB. I think the only solution is to have an increase in the capacity, in our capacity. There have been changes in different transport modes. They have been asking for increase in the capacity to take on more passengers. And PLB, we are providing feeder services most of the time. And over the years, our seating capacity has remained unchanged. The number of passengers has increased. It's just like a funnel. And we are still not changing to meet with the changing times. So I hope that the administration can move ahead with the times and allow us to increase the number of seats in GMB, and then we can work together with bus route reorganization, and we can complement their services. We would not be having vicious competition. We should look forward, and we should provide convenience to passengers. Another point that I would like to mention is that some companies, bus companies, said that if we are to increase our capacity, then bus companies will lose out.
But the bus companies are too big for small businesses. There shouldn't be any duplication of routes between buses and GMBs. We just working on our own routes. Next, Mr. Van Horn, Public Transport Research Team. The research team's view that the administration's positioning of different means of public transport, each competing with each other, is wrong. Most important thing is to integrate is a concept among all means of public transport, including bicycles, and should not just pick one as the backbone and the remaining are just supporting. This will only make the public transport more inconvenient and more confusing and force people to give up using means of public transport. The study should incorporate the $2 scheme for the elderly and the disabled. Now, this is regarded as a welfare policy, but it has seriously affected the efficiency of the buses and the GMBs. We are concerned about this. After the implementation of this scheme on franchise buses, many elderly or the disabled just take the long routes for a short travel, for a short journey. It has undermined the efficiency of the buses and undermined the chance of other passengers, long-haul passengers, of getting on the bus. The impact on the GMB routes will be more serious because a GMB will only has 16 seats. Even if it has 22 seats, it will still be a big proportion. There is a need to review this $2 travel concession policy from a public transport perspective. The planning of the railway is only very limited. It has not considered the traffic demand for public transport other than railway service or before or after the introduction of railway service. People just suffer because of this bad planning. The government should relax the restriction on non-franchise buses with when there are new housing estates. Next speaker, Mr. Henry Chai of the Democratic Party. The four things should be included in the study. First, the mode of operation. This cannot be dodged. The paper doesn't mention what future mode of operation will be. Will there be more choices, more alternatives? Will there be free development? Will the status quo be maintained? The worst is to maintain the status quo. You can see bus companies listed or not. GMB companies and taxi groups are complaining against bad operating environment because things have not improved over a century. Second is positioning and roles. What is the role of the GMB? What is the role of the buses? The government has to think it through. It is related to the modus operandi of the means of public transport. Will the government interfere with the market? Will there be more subsidy? Other modes of operation, say for example cooperation, getting them to help and then setting out the terms of cooperation in the franchise or in the contract. The government has to take this opportunity. Otherwise, I really don't know when there will be a similar study. The third point is on electronic technology. How can you make use of smartphones, large screen displays, the use of GPS, deployment and whereabouts, when and whereabouts are the buses, and finally the roads. The GMBs blame the taxis blame the GMBs, and buses blame the GMBs and taxis for blocking the roads. There should be better management, and new technology can help. In new developed areas, in the redeveloped areas, better planning can help to solve the problem. Let me turn to speak on what has been done by the Democratic Party. Last year, we conducted a questionnaire survey on about 500 passengers. If there was a real-time information system, they would know when the bus would come. 80% of the passengers were willing to increase the use of buses. The bus companies should consider making use of the system. The government should not be lagging behind. In terms of providing the network, shouldn't the government work with the bus companies, give them resources to do that? As for large display screens, should that be included in the franchise? I hope the government will maintain the communication with the parties concerned. Next. Mr. Titus Lam of the Hong Kong Public Transport Concern Group. Thank you. Good morning. Every year, the Transport Department and bus companies submit RDPs to the district councils. Because of the bad supervision by the transport company, the RDP causes even greater problems. The KMB, in particular, keep increasing fares and keep increasing new routes in order to charge higher fares. KMB proposed to add 268p from Yulong to Kwun Tong during morning peak hours. The route is similar to existing 268C, but 268p is $5.5 more expensive. X42 are more expensive than 86C and 42C. What's the reason for charging a higher fee for the same route? Doesn't the Transport Department condone this and sacrifice the interests of passengers? Inflation is getting more serious. KMB is just grabbing money by increasing fares. The government is just irresponsible. In the RDP, the bus company changes the routes. They want to get more new passengers, and they have forgotten the passengers of the original routes. The railway as backbone and buses as supporting will only force the bus companies to change routes to get more buses. As for the Southern District RDP, City Bus split 99 into 99P and 99X. The routes don't pass through Fortress Hill and North Point. Those in Lei Tong have to switch in the middle. City Bus 77. It will not pass through Causeway Bay. But 77, in fact, assists 2A to bring passengers from Causeway Bay back to the Eastern District. If, according to the RDP, there will be no increase in frequency of 2A. 2A will be more congested, more full. So, are you following Greg So's advice of wait for a few more buses? The Transport Department should just condone the misdeeds of the bus companies.
Mr. Chairman, members of the panel, first may I echo the call made by an earlier speaker for the designation of certain bus routes, at least, as important for the transport of bicycles, and especially for tunnel buses to be fitted with external bike racks to overcome this unnecessary block on free movement. But mainly, I'd like to take a step back to ask why the scope of the current study omits any consideration of the role that cycling should play in our transportation mix. I realise this is slightly off the current topic. Hong Kong people are increasingly riding bikes, more than 500,000 of them, say official figures. A great many of these journeys are functional. People cycle in and around their neighbourhoods to go about their business, often integrated with other modes of transport. Yet the current transport policy and planning entirely fail to accommodate the current and potential use of bicycles. When we look outside Hong Kong, what do we see? Cities and countries are rolling out cycling-enabled plans that cut urban gridlock and pollution and surprise everyone by revealing how efficiently bikes move people around compact urban areas. And cycling brings added benefits in terms of health and health cost savings, infrastructure costs, work productivity, the overall environmental and economic stimulus. Why not here in Hong Kong? The renaissance of cycling in London, Paris and New York and hundreds of other urban centres has seen cycling's modal share rise to a level that maximises mobility and enhances city living. In Singapore, Taipei and Guangzhou, implementations and plans for new cycling provision put pressure on us not to ignore the world's most efficient personal mode of transport. No doubt there are complex issues to address in a proper consideration of how cycling can best benefit Hong Kong. as there have been in all those many other places that are already embracing the bike. But with cycling as the clear rising trend in transportation globally, what possible justification can there be for us not even to address what bikes might do for Hong Kong? The extensive role of buses and the rail-led approach set out under CTS 3 may well be the right choice for Hong Kong, but that is a poor reason to shut out all consideration of modification. This study is the perfect opportunity to look at how cycling could and should be integrated into Hong Kong's transport mix, taking up successful practices seen elsewhere, to improve the transport efficiency, urban environment and quality of life of our residents. I urge that cycling be a part of the PTSS so that Hong Kong may no longer be the world's laggard in 21st century transport planning. Thank you.
跟住下一位
Next, Ms. Lai, number 8. Ms. Lee, number 5. Concerning reviewing the role of buses in railways and GMBs. Railway is a backbone, buses and GMBs as feeder service may not be suitable. In the Southern District, it is not suitable. With the introduction of WIL, the administration thought that people will rush to take the WIL. But Wah Fu is not served by the railway, and M47 has been cut. It didn't duplicate with the WIL, but we have to take a feeder. In the past, we took M47, we just pay $5.10 and go to the central. And went to the central. Now we pay $5.30 and take 43M to Kennedy station, and then we pay another $5. So we pay double for traveling to the central. I asked the transport department not to do another, not to touch route number 4. It has a long history from Wah Fu to central. We also rely on this going to the Western District, the Saltfish Market, and also Queen Mary Hospital. If you cut for Route 4, you really infuriate the public. The transport department didn't know the pattern of the passengers. It wrongly cut the bus routes. It only provide bus service that go around many housing estates without bringing you to the destination. The buses only carry air and nothing else. That's a waste of resources. The government and the MTRCL should provide more interchange concessions to buses and GMB passengers. They should attract passengers to Hong Kong University of Hong Kong station. If you go there from, if you go from University Station to Central, you pay $5. But if you add your feeder service, that will be more costly. So it's better to provide direct service. According to Octopus record, you can understand passengers' patterns, traveling patterns. With the introduction of WIL, the transport department is not able to understand the traveling patterns of the passengers. They only they can only trace the pattern through the concessions given. But they cannot do with route number 4. They need to send people there to do a survey at the stations. Your time is up.
Next one. Civic Party, Mr. Lee Chun-hei. The franchise buses have their own advantage, providing point-to-point service, and they can provide more seats within the compartment. And for newly acquired buses, they do have low platforms to carry the elderly and the PWDs, and they're more convenient than railways and BLBs. But there have been reports that there are delayed and lost trips in recent years. But then the Transport Department's definition of lost trips is so very different from the public's understanding. The reasons for lost trips is road congestion. the buses can carry more passengers than private vehicles and motorcycles. So during peak hours and peak hours and busy areas, more bus-only lanes should be designated. We should also take reference from Seoul and Taipei. For wider trunk roads, we can designate bus-only lane and also bus stops so that buses will not be affected by loading and unloading of goods by the roadside, so that they can get in and out of a bus stop more quickly. The Transport Department also has very stringent criteria in improving or enhancing bus frequencies. So if the occupancy rate is 100% during the in the half hour during the busiest 1 hour, then the Transport Department will, under that will only consider enhances frequency under that circumstances. While if you're talking about an occupancy rate of 95%, 100%, well, you can't get on a bus en route. So this is not this criterion is too stringent. Now, as for the bus frequencies, well, sometimes passengers could not understand how they work, and for a headway of 15 or 18 minutes, I think at the bus stop, information on each departure time should be listed out in a board. Well, we should take reference from Taiwan and Seoul and have real-time bus information provided and have this information made public. And passengers can also use their mobile phones to inquire into the bus schedule, and the government can also monitor the bus service operations and bus companies through such information. Bus companies are more flexible than MTR in terms of their service, and they can provide point-to-point service. So we should consider supporting bus services more so that they can compete with the railways. Well, all have spoken, and I would like to thank you who come here. And there will be another meeting on the 20th of March to discuss the franchised bus services. And at that meeting, we would follow up on your views. And now, I would now like to invite Mr. Yao Xingmo, Undersecretary, to make a brief response. If possible, please be as specific as possible. And a lot of deputations have discussed issues about road congestion, buses can't getting into bus stops, the problem of roadside skips, and so on. So can you please respond to those? Thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank deputations and individuals coming here to give us your views on bus services and other issues related to transport issues as a whole. We have listened to a number of views, and they are very useful as a reference for us in taking forward the PTSS. And you have different roles, and you have the chance to listen to others' views, and you can consider how we should position the different transport modes. I hope that you all have an open mind and in dealing with the issues discussed today. This is a good session, engaging views. From what I've heard, I noticed that you note that there is a strong demand for bus services, and so buses do play an important role in public transport in Hong Kong, and their role cannot be replaced by other transport modes, not even the railway. But you do share a concern, and that is the further development of the railway projects will make it difficult for bus companies to survive. And there are issues also raised on operations of buses, road design, and road congestion, which might have an impact on the efficiency of bus operations. And you hope that the administration can deal with these issues. Some have queried the administration's policy of using railway as the backbone, but then some others have supported that approach, i.e. using the railway as a backbone. And actually, when I talked with people on some other occasions, they also supported the government promoting railway development as a priority. Well, so views may be divergent on that point. But there is one point which is important, that different public transport modes should complement each other, and they should not be pitted against each other. Some deputations have also emphasized the need to provide choices to Hong Kong people. There are also views expressed on operation efficiency of bus companies. A number of factors have a bearing on that, including the railway development projects and so on. And some have emphasized that bus companies should make good use of their resources. They should not be carrying air instead of passengers, so to speak. And also the road situation would also have an impact on the operation of bus companies, whether they will have lost trips and so on. And some have raised the views on the design of roads, how bus stops are designed and so on. They will have an impact on bus operations. And some have even suggested whether greater priority should be given to buses in the use of roads, having more bus-only lanes and so on and so forth. And some deputations have also said that since buses play an important role in Hong Kong, they should be able to develop sustainably, because it will have an impact on the livelihood of their employees as well. And some deputations have suggested providing more concessions on the part of the bus companies, but then the bus operators will find that this will, if they are going to do that, it will have an impact on the fares. Some have also referred to the impact of bus operations on PLBs, taxis, and non-franchised bus operations. And they said that they hope that bus route reorganization will leave more room for these other public transport modes operation. Some people are of the view that when we talk about bus route reorganization, we are just cutting down on services instead of enhancing efficiency as a whole. On the part of the government, when we talk about bus route reorganization, we are just not talking about bus cancellation, route cancellation, but rather how to more effectively use bus resources so that places in need of bus services can also be served better. So deputations from the district seem to have the view that we are just cutting services. That's not the case, in fact. And some have also asked whether we can adopt better IT so the passengers can get more information on waiting time, and so that they can have more information in their choice of transport modes. In terms of environmental protection, some have raised building in facilities to allow, say, cyclists to use buses. And bus companies have also said that they are willing to work together with the administration and improve their services. They are willing to adopt more IT in improving their services. and they are also willing to consider providing sort of luxury buses to provide more diversified services. All these suggestions are good suggestions and can help us improve bus services. Some others have also raised the issue of monitoring of lost trips of bus companies. And the last thing that I want to say is that we are discussing the Public Transport Strategy Study, PTSS, and certain areas will not be covered. For example, bicycles. They are not a mass transport mode. They may be an individual transport mode, but bicycles are not mass transport modes, so they're not covered under the proposed study. But as to how we should provide more convenience to cyclists in terms of the when in the mass transport operator services, that is something that we can consider. Well, actually, the patronage differs greatly from one transport mode to another. For example, for railway, per annum, they are taking in on 20 million people, buses, 100 passengers or so, and also single-decker, and GMB 16, NFS 50, and so on. So the patronage can differ substantially, and people are given various choices in terms of mass transport service. How should we make sure that these complement each other? This is something that we should consider. So, Undersecretary, please leave some time for the members to raise their questions. Please remain silent. So, Chairman, I would just like to respond to the points made by the deputations. So this is what I want to do. Undersecretary, I have to commend you for consolidating the views expressed by the deputations, but I haven't heard anything from you as far as specific response is concerned. So I think you did a good job in covering the main points expressed, but you didn't respond at all to the points raised. So now it's the time for members to raise questions. We are now left with 15 minutes only, so I would like to extend the meeting time by 50 minutes. Several members have raised their hands to speak, 6 altogether, each 4 minutes for each, please. The first one is Wong Kok Hing. Thank you, Chairman. We wouldn't have enough time to discuss the overall strategy and study. I would like to ask the administration several points. A number of representatives from the Motor Transport Workers General Union said that there aren't enough facilities for drivers at the bus terminus. They are not provided with proper resting facilities, and that can jeopardize safety of driving. So what's the administration's view on this? Can you respond, Undersecretary, please? Second, many members of the public are concerned that GPS can be used to provide real-time bus information, bus arrival time. Now, KMB and New World First Bus representatives are here today. So can the 2 representatives from these 2 companies respond on whether you are willing to invest on providing real-time bus information to passengers?
First, the administration and then the 3 bus companies. I'll ask Transport Department colleague to explain. As for the bus terminus facilities, when there is a new PTI or when there is a new bus terminus, we do plan to provide space for facilities for the bus company staff members. As for existing PTIs, they were planned many years ago. And for some bus terminals, or termini rather, there are more bus routes using those PTIs, and more people using the space. We try to accommodate and provide better facilities to the drivers. The union asked the administration to build those facilities. Perhaps the bus companies can respond using IT to provide real-time information. KMB, please. Well, making use of advanced technology is a trend. So using technology enable people to make use of smartphones, to know the coming of a bus, or using a display panel. In fact, we are working on this, and we hope that we can install this to our fleet within this year. Apart from knowing when the bus will come, we also hope that passengers will be informed of when they can arrive at the scene or arrive at the destination. Chairman, can some time be given to the city bus and New World First bus? City bus. Well, I answer on behalf of New World First bus and city bus. In fact, 2 years ago, we provided real-time information for our airport bus service. Passengers can make use of their smartphones to check the buses. Now we can do this because the headway is less frequent and there aren't too many frequent patrons. The city bus, well, in fact, New World First Bus has already spoken on that. I hope New World and City Bus will follow the example of KMB. Mr. Chen Hangban. Last year we visited Singapore. The technology is very matured. We hope that the City Bus and New World First Bus will not be so conservative. The bus should not do something under the table or hit below the belt by not having such a system. People like taking buses. So point-to-point service is comfortable. The MTR is always congested. The railway as backbone policy may not be in the interest of the people. Yet, this policy has reduced the room for bus service. They can't have new routes to meet the demand of the passengers. You just put a cap on bus service. There is no development. Last year, they said that they were not making enough money. They wanted to that they increased the fares. Is there any policy to enable the bus companies to be more competitive? There may be more new routes, but you put a cap on bus service, and if so, they can only increase fares. How can you solve the problem? Chairman, from the point of view of the passengers, they want to have a choice. They want a reliable and safe and efficient service. Who can do better depends on the situation. From a planning point of view, there are merits of having a system with the railway as the backbone. My question is about the competitiveness of the bus companies. I'll try to answer the question. Please let me go on. Having considered environmental issues, we think the railway as a backbone is a desirable policy and meets the needs of the community. Even if we expand the railway network, the railway only takes takes up 40-odd% of the passengers, and buses are 30-odd%. There is room for buses to develop. In our PTSS, we take into account bus service. When we develop railway service, how can other means of public transport be viable in the long term and continue to develop and can meet the demands of passengers, in both in terms of fares and choice? The PTSS is to respond to these concerns. Now, Mr. Yao, will you ask the bus companies to introduce transfer concessions and monthly tickets? Will that provide more room for survival for the bus companies? With more railways, there will be less passengers for buses. Will you encourage them to introduce monthly passes to attract more bus passengers? Well, attracting passengers belong to another issue. We need first to decide the role of bus service in the overall public transport picture. That's the most important. In 2003, the average bus and GMB speed in urban area is 25.6 kilometers per hour. After 10 years, 22.7. After 70 years, buses and GMBs cannot move because there is a reduction of every 3 kilometers per hour per year. We have a lot of things to do. This is a very serious matter. Private cars getting into bus stops, dropping 3 kilometers per year, will bring us to a gridlock. I don't want to ask the administration on this. Now we have the bus companies here. My constituency is NT West. I've looked at the transfer station on Timon Road. It is very good and effective. It can be replicated in other districts to help a lot more people. But there are problems. Now when a bus comes, but if the bus breaks down, then the queue is as long as 180 people. That was 263. Now there is an empty bus, and there is a driver, but he cannot run on that route because he doesn't understand the route. Can you have this master key route and master key bus and master key driver so that he can go everywhere if there is a need? Now I'm more greedy. For long-haul routes, people prefer to sit rather than stand. So when there is a bus coming, people just wait. If there is no seats, they wait for another bus. And when the next bus comes, there is no seat. Now in your information system, you should inform people how many seats available. You know how many have got on and how many have got off. Then you know how many seats, because you know the total number of seats. You can have a sensor, and you know whether there are seats available on the upper deck. Now you can speed up the process if you allow people to get on and also get off on both through both doors. As for monthly pass, we have been discussing that for a very long time. Will you seriously to pick several routes and provide monthly pass and conduct a pilot scheme, see if it is at least revenue neutral, if not helpful? If I may respond to your point, your question first. The point is important. You're worried that after 70 years, no one can move. The traffic situation is worsening, and therefore we are considering the TAC's report. Very soon we will introduce measures to deal with private cars which occupied quite a lot of road space and few passengers, and similar means of transport. Thank you, KMB. Considering the 4 points. First, the example you refer to is this. We put passengers first, the 100 or so passengers. Will you solve the problem? Yes, indeed. The bus cannot be a master key bus. A driver cannot be familiar with all buses. What about seats? We have more drivers, and the road service situation varies, but we will deal with it positively. Okay. Time is up. Though I'm chairman, I cannot give you the floor. Well, it's a very useful public hearing. The unions are concerned whether their rice bowls are getting smaller or smaller. Now the buses have been cut in the past 10 years. With the introduction of SIL and WIL, 200 buses are no longer needed to serve this area. And one bus may have 2 to 3 drivers, so it's not just 200 rice bowls. Now with the completion of the new railways, how many buses will be cut? If you build all the 7 new railways, how many buses will be cut? Can you let us know the picture? Concerning fare increase of the bus companies, well, they have to seek approval, but if they introduce a new route, they don't need to apply, and they can increase the fares of, they can charge a higher fare for a new route. Is it the case? Now, according to annual reports, petrol account for 20% of their operating costs. Now, oil price has declined by more than half. Will they therefore be benefited, and is there any room for cutting fares because of decline in oil prices? We know that with the completion of some railways, buses, GMBs, taxis will be affected, in particular if the railway serves an urban area. Before the railway services commences, we need to conduct an assessment. There may be duplication of routes. There may also be new opportunities.
But undeniably, when a community asks for a railway to be built, the community residents welcome that railway. This is the choice of the public, and inevitably some impact will be created on other public transport modes. Have you made calculations? 200 buses have to be cut because of the commissioning of the WIL and SIL. We have made certain estimates on SIL and WIL, and we are doing some reorganization work because of these. Now, as to the impact of a Short-in Central link, we will make some assessment and planning later on. With regard to commissioning of new bus routes, I'll defer to the TED colleague to take that. The fuel cost is a rather complicated issue. Whenever a bus company applies for an increase in fare, we do have a formula to make an assessment and to make our decision. And second, we would also look at their overall operating costs and also their revenue and profits. And that would be a basket of factors to be taken on board. The public expects them to take the initiative to provide fair concessions on the part of the bus companies. Perhaps I would ask my colleague to defer. The fair adjustment mechanism. When there is a deflation in the economy, there is indeed a fare reduction mechanism which clicks in automatically. Now, whether fuel cost reduction will lead to deflation, that is something unknown. Now, last week, fuel costs have risen again then for 10%. So if we adjust the fares too frequently, then I mean, this is something that we have to consider. Fuel cost is one factor, but there are other factors as well. Mr. Leung Kwok Ho. If we want to tackle the problem of road congestion, we have to start with private cars. But I don't see the government having determination to deal with the private vehicle issue. You don't have a policy. If you don't address the problem, then we will not be going anywhere. Sometimes I take taxis, and I just it's myself on taxi only, and it's no good. Well, even if a bus takes on too few passengers, then the buses are still playing a better role than private vehicles on the roads. Second, the government is allowing the railway company to dominate the public transport scene in Hong Kong. This is something allowed by the Hong Kong government. You allow the MTRCL to be listed, and you ask it to incorporate the KCRC, and this is a monopoly. The government always say that the MTRCL has to take care of the interest of the small shareholders. I don't get it. I don't follow your logic. Hong Kong is a congested area, and the railway company must be a public organization, and it must be monitored closely, and it should be asked to reduce fare if it gets a profit. The railway company is ever expanding, and it is ever making profits. And if the MTR is a public company, then it would also help address other problems in the public transport sector. If we launch monthly passes for buses, then the bus service will be operating more efficiently. It will not be just be carrying air instead of passengers. And if I give you an octopus card and a monthly pass, then the consumers will then make the best use of the octopus card or the monthly pass, and then make the best arrangements for themselves in terms of interchange. Hong Kong is a big metropolis. We are a cramped place, and you must turn the MTRC into a public corporation, public organization. We can't leave it to the market to resolve the problems. Whenever we have railways, we have to dig the roads. We have to dig into the road underground, and these are all public properties. It's just like the water supply, electricity supply. If you leave the electricity supply to the private companies are to increase the tariffs year after year. So this is a policy issue. Well, honestly speaking, I can't be elected as the CE within the existing nominating committee proposal. If I were elected the CE, I would definitely put in some new policies. Well, transport policies are political issues as well. Dr. Kwakaki, first of all, I would like to thank the deputations and individuals for spending the whole morning here with us. I think the Undersecretary's reply sends a chill down our spine. I don't think that they are giving us a good answer. The MTRC is domineering the market, and its operation mode comes with all sorts of problems. And I don't think the government is willing to tackle that. We are spending dozens of millions of dollars to subsidize the MTRC out of our public purse. And the way it is operating, it is trying to profiteer and take away people's, dig into individual, the members' pocket. Well, 70% of the shares are owned by the government, but the government is not dealing with the core problem here. And the bus companies are not doing a good job either. And they buy some land, and they're not trying to give back their earnings or profits to their passengers. And the government is also not allowing sufficient room for the bus companies to develop. The government is not floating or proposing any measures which can enhance bus companies' competitiveness. Some deputations also made the point about whether the government has been proposing measures like having electric buses and also building cycling tracks. In London, actually, they are building this latest very large-scale cycling track to ease pollution in London. I am disappointed to hear the Undersecretary saying that the cycling track is not a non-starter. It will not be covered at all under the study. Now, if we are asking for the establishment of a post to particularly take forward the study, I think all our efforts will go down the drain. We shouldn't have too high expectations on the study, or else we'll be too disappointed. I think the government has to be blamed for the mess of problems. And this time round, the government is also raising our expectations, but I don't think they would do anything. Well, let me emphasize these several points. First, will the government promise to conduct in-depth study on the issues that I mentioned, especially the issue about MTRCL dominating the market? Undersecretary? As Chairman, as you know, the public transport strategy study is undertaken because we know that the railway development projects will have an impact on other transport modes. So that's why we want to focus on the role to be played by the other public transport modes, the positioning they should take up. So we would concentrate on that in our upcoming study, so that these other public transport modes can develop sustainably, can be competitive, and can provide choices to passengers in the future. This is the focus of our study, and buses play a part in that process. Well, I'm left with 4 minutes. I can allow 4 more persons, each with 1 minute to speak. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. This one, Mr. Lam first. Thank you. I would like to thank the chairman for giving me the opportunity to speak. As I said in the beginning, Mr. Yao should read through my 14 pages of submission. In the first page, I quoted an example, a GMB route which is closed down in Shamshepo. You said that you are not trying to cut bus service. On this page, I made a comparison between Hong Kong and Singapore and London. I made a comparison on the population, and I have the conclusion that Hong Kong is lacking in buses in terms of the number of buses. I am not from this bus sector, but then I can say that GMB, 16-seat capacity, buses, the minimum capacity is 60. So please don't repeat your points. Next one. This is an Yen on village traffic assessment study. The Transport Department has endorsed that certain routes be provided to Yen on village or estates. You haven't realized your promise, though. Mr. Yao, you called the other day asking us to support your PRH development, and during that call, I relayed to you residents' expectations of the transport arrangements, further services be provided. But now you haven't honored your promise, and conversely, you are asking for services to be cut in that area. So, Transport Department, how come that you haven't considered the request from residents? You know only how to build houses and not how to provide transport services. Your time's up. Next one. Two other will speak. Please make good use of your time. I've heard a story recently. There is this senior citizen who lives in Fook Loi Estate in Tsuen Wan, and she has to visit the doctor in Princess Margaret Hospital, and the frequency of the bus is only 30 minutes. The headway is 30 minutes. How can you ask an elderly citizen to wait that long? You can't ask her to go to take MTRC because her home is too far away from the Tsuen Wan MTR station. And if she is on a wheelchair, the problem is even more serious. The last one. Thank you, Chairman. I haven't heard anything specific from the government on how to deal with the problems we raised. If the government insists on to be bureaucratic and just do patchwork measures, then it's not going anywhere. And also, is the government intent on embarking on the fourth CTS? The last one was conducted in 1999. It's been 14 years down the road, and we are facing problems, traffic congestion problems. We are a modern metropolis. How can we allow that to happen? We have to have modern management of our transport and traffic situation. Thirdly, if bus companies don't want to provide certain services, and would you consider having handing over the services of K buses to other PLBs? The next meeting will be held on the 27th of February, 10:45 a.m. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.